Steve.
Hey, Steve, just in
How's
time.
everybody?
Okay, we're now streaming live on YouTube. All right, good evening. Today is Monday, March 8th, 2021. Welcome to this evening's regular meeting of the Oregon City Council. Let's begin tonight's meeting by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. If you guys would all mute so it doesn't sound muffled. I've been hearing that it sounds a little muffled when we all recite at the same time. So I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of
America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Ms. Evans, would you please take roll call for attendance this evening?
Davish.
Here.
Mr. Horniak.
On mute.
Here.
Mrs. Pavlov.
Here.
Mr. Reeves.
Here.
Mr. Seaman.
here,
Mr. Wallensack.
Here.
Mr. Zale.
Here.
Thank you. Please note that all members of council are present. Also joining us are Clerk of Council, Ms. Tina Evans, Mayor Michael Safarian, the City Administrator, Mr. Michael Beasley, Law Director, Melissa Purpura, Public Service Director, Mr. Paul Roman, Finance Director, Mrs. Darlene Huntermark, our Police Chief, Brandon Began is in, Fire Chief Denny Hartman, Mark Mullins, and Jim Wolf. And our Rec Commissioner, Tim Borton, is here with us also. Council, we have a number of public hearings today. Well, first order of business, we'll start with the approval of the meeting minutes from the February 22nd, 2021 regular meeting of council. Can I get a motion to accept those?
so moved, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Seaman.
Second.
Second by Mr. Reeves. Council, is there any objections? Hearing no objections, the meeting minutes from the February 22nd, 2021 regular meeting of council are approved as submitted. As I was beginning to mention, we do have a number of public hearings for agricultural districts, and we will start with item 28. I'll call this public hearing to order at 7:06. The public hearing is for a renewal application for an agricultural district for Alice Jean Dominic for 30.15 acres located at 3814 Brown Road. Is there anybody here that's going to speak in favor? I don't see anybody signed in, and I don't see anybody signed in to speak in opposition of this renewal application. So we'll close the public hearing at 7:07. I will assign item 28 with ordinance number 28 of 2021 and ask Ms. Evans to read it into the record. Ms. Evans?
Approving inclusion of certain land situated in the city of Oregon, Ohio, owned by Alice Jean Dominic into an agricultural district for a 5-year period and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Council?
President,
Yes, Mr. Davish.
I move for passage of ordinance number 28 of 2021 as an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Davish.
Second.
Second by Mr. Horniak. Ms. Evans, would you please take a roll call of council on passage of ordinance number 28 of 2021 as an emergency measure?
Mr. Davish.
Yes.
Mr. Horniak.
Yes.
Mrs. Pavlov.
Yes.
Mr. Reeves.
Yes.
Mr. Seaman.
Yes,
Mr. Wallensack.
Yes.
Mr. Zale.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Please note that ordinance 28 did pass by a vote of 7 yeas, 0 nays. Our second public hearing, again for an agricultural district, will be called to order at 7:08. This public hearing is for a renewal application for an agricultural district for Jack Carsonson for 2.73 acres located at 3980 Brown Road and 9.37 acres located at 3960 Brown Road. Again, I don't see anybody on the board that is here to speak in favor or against this public hearing or this renewal application. So we'll close the public hearing at 7:08. I will sign item number 29 with ordinance number 29 of 2021 and ask Ms. Evans to read it into the record. Ms. Evans?
Approving inclusion of certain land situated in the city of Oregon, Ohio, owned by Jack Carsonson in an agricultural district for a 5-year period and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Council?
Mr. President,
Mr. Davish?
I move for passage of ordinance number 29 of 2021 as an emergency measure.
Thank you, Mr. Davish.
Second.
Second by Mr. Horniak. Ms. Evans, would you please take a roll call of council on passage of ordinance number 29 of 2021 as an emergency measure?
Mr. Davish,
Yes.
Mr. Horniak,
Yes.
Mrs. Pollock,
yes,
Mr. Reeves,
Yes.
Mr. Seaman,
yes,
Mr. Wallensack,
Yes.
Mr. Zale.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Please note that ordinance 29 did pass by a vote of 7 yeas, 0 nays. We'll move to the third public hearing this evening. We'll call this public hearing to order at 7:09. This public hearing is for a renewal application for an agricultural district for Jack and Barbara Carstensen for 9.571 acres located at 3960 Brown Road. Again, I don't see anybody here to speak in favor or opposition of this. So therefore, we'll close the public hearing at 7:10 and ask and I'll assign item number 30 with ordinance number 30 of 2020. And again, ask Ms. Evans to read it into the record. Ms. Evans.
Approving inclusion of certain land situated in the city of Oregon, Ohio, owned by Jack and Barbara Carstensen into an agricultural district for a 5-year period and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Council.
President,
Mr. Davish.
I move for passage of ordinance number 30 of 2021 as emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Davish.
Second.
Second by Mr. Horniak. Ms. Evans, would you please take a roll call of council on passage of ordinance number 30 of 2021 as an emergency measure?
Mr. Davish,
Yes.
Mr. Horniak,
Yes.
Mrs. Pollock,
yes,
Mr. Reeves,
Yes.
Mr. Seaman,
yes,
Mr. Wallensack,
Yes.
Mr. Zale.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Please note that ordinance 30 of 2021 did pass by a vote of 7 yeas, 0 nays. We'll move to the next public hearing. I'll call this public hearing to order at 7:11. This public hearing is for the renewal application for an agricultural district for the city of Oregon for 56.27 acres located at 5518 Seaman Road. Is there anybody here from the administration who wants to speak in favor of this?
We'll keep quiet, Dennis.
All right, just want to make sure. I don't see anybody here that wants to speak in opposition. So therefore, we'll close the public hearing at 7:11. I will assign item number 31 with ordinance number 31 of 2021 and ask Ms. Evans to read it into the record. Ms. Evans.
Approving inclusion of certain land situated in the city of Oregon, Ohio, owned by the city of Oregon into an agricultural district for a 5-year period and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Council.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Davish.
I move for passage of ordinance number 31 of 2021 as an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Davish.
Second.
Second by Mr. Horniak. Ms. Evans, would you please take a roll call of council on passage of ordinance number 31 of 2021 as an emergency measure?
Mr. Davish,
Yes.
Mr. Horniak,
Yes.
Mrs. Pollock,
yes,
Mr. Reeves,
Yes.
Mr. Seaman,
yes,
Mr. Wallensack,
Yes.
Mr. Zale.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Please note that ordinance 31 did pass by a vote of 7 yeas, 0 nays. Next public hearing will be called to order at 7:12. This public hearing is for a new application for an agricultural district for the Oregon Economic Development Foundation for 20 acres located at 4250 Corduroy Road. I'm not sure if anybody from the administration wants to talk about this new application or not. You guys stay quiet on this too? Okay. Is there anybody here to speak in opposition? I don't see anybody signed in. I will assign this item number 32 with ordinance number 32 of 2021. I'll close the public hearing at 7:13 and ask Ms. Evans to read it into the record, please.
Approving inclusion of certain land situated in the city of Oregon, Ohio, owned by the Oregon Economic Development Foundation into an agricultural district for a 5-year period and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Council.
President,
Mr. Davish.
I move for passage of ordinance number 32 of 2021 as emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Davish.
Second.
Second by Mr. Horniak. Ms. Evans, would you please take a roll call of council on passage of ordinance number 32 of 2021 as an emergency measure.
Mr. Davish,
yes,
Mr. Horniak,
yes,
Mrs. Polloff,
yes,
Mr. Reeves,
yes,
Mr. Seaman,
yes,
Mr. Wallenzeck,
Yes.
Mr. Zale,
yes,
Thank you, council. Please note that ordinance 32 of 2021 did pass by a vote of 7 yeas, 0 nays. We'll move on to our next public hearing. The next public hearing I'll call to order at 7:14. This public hearing is for a renewal application for an agricultural district for Kevin M. and Kathy S. Fox for 4.74 acres located at 150 North Lollendorf Road, 24.38 acres located at 0 Corduroy Road, 28 acres located at 5701 Cedar Point Road, 40.279 acres located at 805 North Stadium Road, 20 acres located at 5255 Cedar Point Road, 19 acres located at 1340 North Wind Road, 60 acres located at 5201 Corduroy Road. And I don't see anybody here to speak in favor or against this renewal
Mr.
application. Excuse me?
I thought, Mr. President, I thought it'd be fun to tell Kevin we voted all of his down, but I will skip that.
All right, you can have that conversation with them.
I might tell him. I'll call him.
You would get his attention.
I will.
I will close the public hearing at 7:15. I will sign item number 33 with ordinance number 33 of 2021 and ask Ms. Evans to read it into the record. Ms. Evans.
approving inclusion of certain land situated in the city of Oregon, Ohio, owned by Kevin M. and Kathy S. Fox into an agricultural district for a 5-year period and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Council.
President,
Mr. Davish.
I move for passage of orders number 33 of 2021 as emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Davish.
second,
Second by Mr. Horniak. Ms. Evans, would you please take a roll call of council on passage of ordinance number 33 of 2021 as an emergency measure?
Mr. Davish,
Yes,
Mr. Horniak,
yes,
Mrs. Polloff,
yes,
Mr. Reeves,
yes,
Mr. Seaman,
yes,
Mr. Wallenzeck,
Yes.
Mr. Zale,
yes,
Thank you, council. Please note that ordinance number 33 of 2021 did pass by a vote of 7 yeas, 0 nays. At this point, we have to add a few items to this week's agenda since we did not have a committee of the whole meeting. I will seek a motion to add items 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, and 40 to this evening's agenda. So 35 through 40 to this evening's agenda.
Mr. President,
Mr. Seaman,
yes, I move to add items 30, 35 through 40 to this evening's agenda.
34.
Actually, 34.
34 through 30 for 40.
thank you, Mr. Seaman.
second,
Second by Mr. Reeves. Council, any objections? Hearing no objections, items 34 through 40 will be added to this evening's agenda. Mayor, would you like to make your appointments now? I know we have at least one person on that is looking to get appointed. Should we make him sit through the whole meeting, or do you want to?
We may just wait, because I think these things will go pretty fast. They're pretty, if we find out if something slows it down, then we'll take it and do that, but I'd rather make them all together.
Okay,
Unless that individual's in a hurry.
no, I was just offering that to you, Mayor.
All right, I appreciate it.
All right, we will start with item number 34 of 2021. Item number 34 is being presented by Mayor Michael J. Safarian. Mayor?
And council, you'll see this position in the rec department, facility manager, which is classification number 6038. Is formerly, we had a 21-year age requirement on it. We have a lot of individuals that are active at the rec and very capable and very, very good at doing this job. And Tim Borton had recognized that we're missing out on some very quality people to perform this duty because of our age requirement. And so we were changing it from 21 to 18. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Council, do you have any questions for the administration on item number 34? Here, no questions. I will sign item 34 with ordinance number 34 of 2021 and ask Ms. Evans to read it into the record. Ms. Evans?
Amending ordinance 69 of 2019 by revising the classification plan for the age requirements for the seasonal position of facility manager in the recreation department and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Council?
Mr. President,
Mr. Reeves?
I move for passage of ordinance 34 of 2021 as an emergency measure.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves.
Second.
Second by Mr. Horniak. Ms. Evans, would you please take a roll call of council on passage of ordinance number 34 of 2021 as an emergency measure?
Mr. Reeves,
Yes.
Mr. Horniak,
Yes.
Mr. Davish,
yes,
Mrs. Polloff,
yes,
Mr. Seaman,
yes,
Mr. Wallensack,
Yes.
Mr. Zale,
yes,
Thank you, council. Please note that ordinance 34 of 2021 did pass by a vote of 7 yeas, 0 nays. We'll move to item number 35. Item number 35 is being presented by Mayor Michael J. Safarian, City Administrator Mr. Michael Beasley, and Law Director Melissa Purpura. Mayor, Mr. Beasley, Ms. Purpura.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, and Council, you're aware of our new fire station, and to build that, we need the property to put it on. And we had a tentative agreement with the school system, and I think Mr. Zale will tell you that when we had our meeting, the objective of our last meeting, or a couple meetings ago, about this fire station was this project would move right along, because they were saying, you know, we might not get a building start date till late fall or by winter. and I like to see it start in spring, late spring or summer. And everybody's gonna take a little role to make sure this project did move along. Mr. Beasley, at that meeting, I said, that will be your job to get this deal with the schools ironed out. And it looks like it did just that. So once again, we certainly have to, Rodney was busy designing the infrastructure for that lot. So I was sure hopeful that he would come through with a deal. Otherwise, Rodney's work would go for naught. And Tim was picking out building designs, and he, I don't know where he'd put it if we didn't get this lot.
Mr. President.
yeah, go ahead, Tim.
Yeah.
Yeah, the design of the building is moving right along very nicely. I think we're all happy with what it's going to look like. I think there's a couple of things we have to do yet. I think the next thing we'll see is some actual design pictures versus what we've seen for a floor plan. But this is going to be a great location, and it's moving along really, really well.
Yeah, just Mr. President, I just want to echo the mayor's points and Councilman Zales. We feel good about the location. The school district is kind of our partner on it. We talked to them from the beginning that we thought that they had a parcel that made sense. I think they're happy to get the sale and move forward with using up some of that land. And ultimately, we think that land could be, the land adjacent to it could still be a good location for a subdivision. The city sold off a lot, just a little bit on the south end of that. And we think this will be a quality area, and the fire station will be a good neighbor there. We're excited about it.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Council, is there any questions for the administration on item number 35 of 2021?
Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. Seaman.
Yeah, I think this is a first step to improve our city's efficiency and safety for our citizens. I think it's an excellent move. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Seaman. Council, any more questions for the administration?
Mr. President,
Yeah, Mr. Horniak.
so with the first step happening in acquisition of land, do we have a time frame? Obviously, the mayor had mentioned wanting to go to shovel ready sometime late spring or summer. When will we see those renditions or drawings, and when will we have an idea of budget for these?
Mr. President and members, Tim kind of serves as the committee chairs, kind of liaison to that process.
we believe they're doing some renderings right now that we want to get in council's hands. They're within the couple of weeks here. So
Right, right.
we will, in terms of the scope of what it's going to cost in terms of,
Let me stop you for a minute here. And just remember, these renderings, there's very few of those. We're down to final choices. So it's not like you're going to have to ponder over a vast group of things. It's fairly narrowed down already. So we believe that
it's a fire
process when
station,
you
not
get
a
it.
house.
Huh?
It's a fire station, not a house. I guess that's the point. Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. Zale.
Like I said, the interior design and the layout of the office space and all the other spaces that we're going to do in there, that's pretty much all done. We discussed the last meeting we discussed a lot on what we wanted the exterior to look like. And that's what you'll be seeing renderings of fairly soon. I think the next meeting that we have with them, we'll see those. I think you'll be happy to see.
Very good. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Mr. Seaman.
I know Mr. Beasley said that the subdivision could be adjacent to the new fire station. So I assume that the exterior appearance will be will fit in to look like not so institutional, but more like a residential, if it can.
Well,
Yeah.
Mr. President,
Let me start.
Wait. Mr. Seaman, you are correct. We're not going to make this just a steel-sided barn structure. It will have good appearance from the road and from any neighboring property. Both Mr. Zale and I, when we've had talks in this committee, have expressed that we needed to look appropriate in the location that it's at.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor?
And then I was just gonna say something very similar to that, is that I wouldn't call it a residential looking building. It's more, we wanted it's gonna look like a fire station, but it's gonna look like a very nice fire station. So yeah, your words were very accurate. It'll be, and Tim Zale wanted to make sure that it was kind of eye turning when you went by, that it was something that you actually drove by and thought, wow, a little bit of a wow factor for a fire station.
Now, what, Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. Seaman.
Yeah, that sounds really good, and I'm sure that it's going to really look good. Now, what about the noise factor for a subdivision so close to it, though? Would that be a
Jim, think of this. The fire station's coming first. So
Yes,
people will see the fire station and they'll have the choice to buy something there or somewhere else. But those same people, if they have a problem at their house, they probably want to hear that noise real fast over to their house.
Well, that's true.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. President, can I just make a point? Jim, the vast majority of fire stations are surrounded by residential housing in this country and in this region. My neighborhood where I live, I have a fire station that's kind of right in the heart of it. It's very popular. It's not like the old days where they sounded a giant alarm and called everyone to come running. We'll be dispatching people from the fire station. It's not like we're running off a giant gong every time there's a run. This blends in very well. I don't know anyone that I know adjacent to the fire stations that my neighborhood that's ever I've never heard a complaint in my life. I've lived here since 1963. Right?
Mr. President?
Mr. Seaman.
Yeah, I think it would give neighbors a sense of security and safety and well-being. So yeah, you're probably right. It probably is not really a deterrent.
Thank you.
It's a good neighbor. They're good neighbors.
Good neighbor.
Is there any other questions for item number 35 of 2021? Hearing no further questions, I'll sign item number 35 with ordinance number 35 of 2021 and ask Ms. Evans to read it into the record. Ms. Evans.
Authorizing the mayor and finance director to enter into an agreement with the Oregon Board of Education for the acquisition of a portion of property from parcel 44-27081, 1100 South Wind Road in the city of Oregon, Lucas County, Ohio, for the construction of the new fire station and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Council.
Mr. President,
Go ahead.
Zale.
I move for passage of ordinance 35, 2021 as an emergency measure.
Thank you, Mr. Zale.
second,
Second by Ms. Pauloff. Ms. Evans, would you please take a roll call of council on passage of ordinance number 35 of 2021 as an emergency measure?
Mr. Zale,
Yes.
Mrs. Polloff,
yes,
Mr. Davish,
Yes.
Mr. Horniak,
Yes.
Mr. Reeves,
Yes.
Mr. Seaman,
yes,
Mr. Wallenzak,
Yes. Thank you, council. Please note that ordinance 35 of 2021 did pass by a vote of 7 yeas, 0 nays. We'll move to item number 36. Item number 36 is again being presented by Mayor Michael J. Safarian, City Administrator Mr. Michael Beasley, and Law Director Melissa Purpura. Mr. Beasley?
Mayor, just,
Mayor,
Uh,
Mr. Beasley?
I'm ready to go with it, Mayor, if you're
Yeah.
comfortable.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, you were raising your hand like you were in class, so.
He hates to talk, so I just.
Hard to get-
I try to pry a couple words out of him.
Just as a note, this is kind of an unusual ordinance to have on, but we wanted to make sure the council just got involved and notice on it. We're not selling this land. It is the foundation that's selling it. And so if the council recalls, the city provided funds to the foundation to acquire property a couple of years ago. We spent about $1.5 million for about 30 acres. This would allow the sale of 10 of those acres for about $1.1 million. Long-term, we expect that we'll recover considerably more than we paid for that land from the sale of that, from that property. This is the old Dickey property. If the members recall, for more than 5 years from now, we've talked in terms of a long-term plan to begin our town center with a blend of single family and quality apartments and that Dickey property south side. All this does is kind of allow the foundation to move forward with the sale of that land to a property developer. This doesn't do anything about approving the design or the shape or all those conditions. It just notes the shape of the agreement as it exists now. The city council will retain its authority and the city to weigh in on various factors of this in the future when we do a couple of things. Downstream, after we take a step to make a change to the zoning, we'll have to approve a site plan, facades, have an architecture review committee approve a design, etc. We're also, in the course of the same way we've committed for our town center, we're going to end up looking to do a tax abatement agreement to incentivize development in our town center. And that's the other place we have opportunity to weigh in. So all those things are in the future. It's just kind of making a record that the foundation is going to be selling this land. We're going to ask them to hold on to these dollars unless the city asks for them back at some point to either invest in additional property or to pay the holding cost for other land that they hold in our name. So this is just that step. We will have kind of an intensive couple of months with the council going through the design, the facades, all those things are to come in the future. That's not what we're doing today. This sale ultimately won't go through until those approvals happen, but we have to have a contract done that says, okay, here's the shape of things going forward. Then the parties can go forward with ultimately the zoning and negotiating those other aspects of it. So we're excited about it as, and I think it was Steve that pointed out in one of our sessions as Economic Development Committee Chair that, once people see that we're moving forward with the residential, then the retail and restaurants and other things want to follow. And we're already noticing that. And it's really the conversation going on in the real estate marketplace about the real estate side that's driving it, the residential side that's driving it. The retail wants to be there. I do want to emphasize that this is the 10 acres or 9.9 acres. It's right next to the Orchard Villa senior or assisted living facility. We will be reserving the rest of the land for roadway, water, sewer, bike trail, and everything next to the Hallschild neighborhood will be single family residential. And I'll make a note I'll say it, I've talked about it. We are wrapping up negotiations with Mark Riggs, who wants to be the builder for those homes. And we're excited about that. Mark's a local builder with a great track record. He wants to be the builder of that. So on those two pieces of it, the residential side, we feel like there's no mission accomplished moment here, but these are the steps we're taking to really turn that corner and this is the foundation we've talked about together for, I think, 5 years now, that we're going in this direction. We have lots to do yet, but these are the next kind of the next steps we have in a many-step process. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Beasley. Mayor, do you have anything to add?
No, I think Mr. B said we expect we get this $1.1 million, and in the sale of those, of which I believe will be 36 houses, another $1.8 million to the tune of 2.9. That helps fund some of the other expenses in that area. And other than this, the Dickey property, some may know it better by the WHO property.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I think obviously this is a positive direction that we're going in, and hopefully this leads to the next, and we can continue to build on this. And I know the administration has been working hard to continue contacts with the developers, and we wish you luck to continue to move this forward. Council, is there any questions for the administration on item number 36?
Mr. President. Mr. President.
Mr. Seaman.
Oh, thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, I think this is an excellent idea, because we know rooftops equals commercial development. The more rooftops, the more people we have living in the area, the better the probability that we'll get some soft good places, some restaurants, and some other kind of retail that'll improve the quality of life of our citizenry. So I think it's an excellent move. Thank you. Thanks to the administration for working this out.
Thank you, Mr. Seaman.
Mr. President,
Mr. Horniak.
if I may, so, to echo the comments so far and also to recognize the work that the administration has done, we talked about this over the last several months. The idea of going out to bid on the roads, the sewer, starting to really create action in this development has really started to bear fruit. What we're seeing through conversations I've had with Mr. Beasley over the last couple of weeks, and one as recently as a couple of hours ago, interest is getting to a feverish pace. A lot of people don't want to miss the boat on the opportunity that is going to be created with this. So in addition to the residential, to get the rest of what we're looking for, I feel very good about the momentum that we've got going with this right now. And again, to the administration, great job on getting us where we're at. To the council, this is the foresight of what we've tried to do over the last several years, and we're finally starting to see that activity. So thanks to everybody, and this is an exciting first domino to start to see happen in this area. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Horniak.
Mr. President.
Mr. Seaman.
Yes, and as Mr. Beasley indicated and the mayor did, as we sell off these parcels of property, it looks well like we made a good investment when you want to look at the monetary aspect of it, because we're going to be made whole by the time we sell this property out. And the big asset is we're not in it for the profit, but we do want to be made whole to a certain degree. But our citizens are the real winners, in that it's going to, again, like we said before, increase the quality of life and the interest of our community. So again, thanks to our administration.
Thank you, Mr. Seaman. Councilor, any further questions or comments? Hearing no further comments.
Mr. President, I just like to
Mr.
follow up one thing with that, is when you see the numbers of what we paid for it versus what we are getting, a little deceptive, because we have a lot of investment to make, but because all those things we put in there cost some money, but we are doing a good job at recouping not only the money we paid for it, but the cost entailed in putting roadway in and whatnot. So I don't want the public to think that we're enterprising here with a cash gain, but we are enterprising with the product that we will have in the end. So, and it's something that I think everyone that lives here will enjoy.
Thank you,
Mr. President.
Mr. Seaman.
Yeah, and I think the mayor's making an excellent point. We're not in it to enterprise. That's exactly right. But, I have been criticized and have been asked many questions about, some of the prices we paid for some of the property. But as it turns out, the administration and the council has done a great job. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Seaman. Anything further, council? Hearing no further comments, I will sign item number 36 with ordinance number 36 of 2021. And ask Ms. Evans to read it into the record. Ms. Evans.
Authorizing the mayor and finance director to enter into an agreement with RT Group 3 LLC, a Michigan limited liability company, and the Oregon Economic Foundation for the sale of 9.9 acres of property from parcel 44-23941 at 2965 Pickle Road in the city of Oregon, Lucas County, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Council.
Mr. President,
Mr. Horniak.
I move for passage of ordinance 36 of 2021 as an emergency measure.
Thank you, Mr. Horniak.
Second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Davish. Ms. Evans, would you please take roll call of council on passage of ordinance number 36 of 2021 as an emergency measure?
Mr. Horniak,
Yes.
Mr. Davish,
Yes.
Mrs. Pollock,
yes,
Mr. Reeves,
yes,
Mr. Seaman,
Yes.
Mr. Wallenbeck,
Yes.
Mr. Zale,
Yes.
Thank you, council. Please note that ordinance 36 of 2021 did pass by a vote of 7 yeas, 0 nays. Move to item number 37. Item number 37 is being presented by Mayor Michael J. Safarian and Public Service Director, Mr. Paul Roman. Mayor, Mr. Roman.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I'm going to touch on all three of these, these three next items. And Mr. Roman might add something to it after I start. And what we have here is two individuals that were building houses on these parcels. And it's always advantageous for the city to see to it that any development with a house would be into the sanitary sewer. Excuse me, I can turn the light back on here.
good light.
Wave my arms and
It
they
look-
come back on.
it looked like dark shadows.
Yeah.
It's coming
So-
back again.
So we would certainly rather see it for health reasons and whatever else. Houses tied into the sanitary sewer versus on-lot systems. And Mr. Roman went over with these individuals about a lot of options, and these two accommodation taps we felt was the best arrangement that we could come up with. And then the item number 39 is the construction of the sewer. The first is the right to have entry into the sanitary sewer by accommodation tap. But after a lot of discussion with the individuals, with Mr. Roman, we believe this was the best arrangement for those two houses and those two properties. Like I said, Mr. Roman might want to add something else to it, but these three really kind of go together. The right
Yep.
to the sanitary sewer and then the construction of. Mr.
Thank you,
Roman.
Mayor. Mr. Roman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mayor. So 37, 38 are the accommodation tabs. Item 39, the catch a tap. Mr. Brent Graham is fronting the money for the project. So he is, and part of the accommodation tap work is the two property owners that are front on Brown, they're going to put in a pump station, a force main, and send it through a property to the north that Brent Graham had purchased, which then gets them to the Pickle Road sanitary sewer. But also off of Pickle Road, Brent has this other property, as well as Aaron and Amanda Collins. They have a property that also is with Mr. Graham's property that has access to Pickle. So when Mr. Graham does his cash to tap, not only does it serve the accommodation taps, but it also serve these two northern properties as permanent taps. So part of this work is putting in an 8-inch permanent sewer across Pickle as a cash to tap. The two properties at front on Pickle when they tie in, they'll have permanent service. Now, if a sewer comes along on Brown, the two southern properties, the ones that front on Brown, they'll have to tie into the Brown sewer when it comes along and pay those assessments accordingly. So in item 39, there is a breakdown of the cash to tap fees or the assessments. So the properties at Front Pickle, they're paying a little bit more because it includes a lateral that'll serve those two properties that, but they'll have permanent connections. So even with what they're paying, it's, for the northern properties, it's way cheaper, than a septic system. The Brown Road properties, yes, they're putting in the pump station and the force main. That's their own cost. And, that's part of the accommodation tap. It's temporary till something comes along. Who knows when that'll happen on Brown. But all parties are aware of these ordinances and they all concur with it. And, we did do the design in-house and laid it out. And they did have a very decent quote from Hillebrand, which is included in the item 39. So everyone's aware of it. We are using area instead of front footage. Front footage just wasn't fair. The Pickle Road properties have really small frontages off of Pickle. So area was the way to do this. And that's it. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Roman. Council, is there any questions for the administration on any of these items, 37, 38, or 39?
Mr. President.
Mr. Seaman?
Yes, I was going to ask Mr. Roman, now, the city's taking close attention to, the size of that pump and the type of pump so that it has some integrity and maintains what it's supposed to do.
Mr. President, Mr. Seaman, the pump and the force main are private, and we
I
do not.
understand that, but we want them not to fail, obviously.
Well, but we do not. It's just like sizing a sump pump for a home. We don't size sump pumps. We don't size. We're not going to size the sanitary. That is up for them to decide on. Now, will I look at it as if it was my own? Yes. Now, I always do that, and I'll recommend certain things, just like backup power to run them. But the cash to tap, the sewer across Pickle, that will be sized for all of this work, and it's a permanent sewer, even though it's a small stub that goes across Pickle Road, but it's sized for all four properties. I can tell you.
Yeah, that's what I meant about the pump, that you don't take a look, you'd look at it and make sure it was adequate. That's what I'm saying. That's all.
Correct. We do.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Mr. Sverre.
And I would address this to you, Mr. Seaman, is that like I say, Mr. Roman could advise them what to put in, but in the end, it would be their call. But one thing you can bear in mind, the chances of this failing, whatever size pump they put in, is way less than an on-lot system. On-lot systems are more likely to have problems than any of this force main deal. And of course, I know these property owners are aware of it. Otherwise, they would be putting in on-lot systems. Most people don't want to have anything to do with an on-lot system.
Very good.
Experience with them. I certainly wouldn't want to go back that way. Sometimes you have to, but if there's any other alternative, most reasonable people will take those other alternatives other than the on-lot system.
Very
Thank you,
good.
Mayor. Mr. Seaman.
Thank you.
Any further questions for items 37 through 39? Here, no further questions. I'll sign item number 37 with ordinance number 37 of 2021 and ask Ms. Evans to read it into the record. Ms. Evans?
Authorizing a sanitary sewer accommodation tap for Brent J. and Kimberly A. Graham, 4357 Brown Road, parcel number 44-28625, Oregon, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Council?
Mr. President,
Yes, Ms. Pauloff.
I move for passage of ordinance number 37 of 2021 and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Pauloff.
Second.
Second by Mr. Reeves. Ms. Evans, would you please take a roll call of council on passage of ordinance number 37 of 2021 as an emergency measure?
Mrs. Pauloff,
Yes.
Mr. Reeves,
Yes.
Mr. Davish,
Yes.
Mr. Horniak,
Yes.
Mr. Seaman,
Yes.
Mr. Wallensack,
Yes.
Mr. Sale,
Yes.
Thank you, council. Please note that ordinance 37 of 2021 did pass by a vote of 7 yeas, 0 nays. Is there any questions or comments on item number 38? Hearing no questions, I will sign item number 38 with ordinance number 38 of 2021 and ask Ms. Evans to read it into the record. Ms. Evans.
Authorizing a sanitary sewer accommodation tap for Blake G. and Anna Powell, 4341 Brown Road, parcel number 44-28624, Oregon, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Council.
Mr. President,
Yes, Ms. Polliff.
I move for passage of ordinance number 38 of 2021 and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Polliff.
Second.
Second by Mr. Reeves.
The double.
Ms. Evans, would you please take a roll call of council on
Tabish.
Would you please take a roll call of council on passage of ordinance number 38 of 2021 as emergency measure?
Mrs. Powell,
Yes.
Mr. Reeves,
Yes.
Mr. Davish,
Yes.
Mr. Horniak,
Yes.
Mr. Seaman,
Yes.
Mr. Wallenzeck,
Yes.
Mr. Zale,
Yes.
Thank you, council. Please note that ordinance 38 of 2021 did pass by a vote of 7 yeas, 0 nays. Council, is there any questions for the administration on item number 39 of 2021? Hearing no questions, I'll sign item number 39 with ordinance number 39 of 2021 and ask Ms. Evans to read it into the record. Ms. Evans.
authorizing Brent J. Graham, 4357 Brown Road, Oregon, Ohio, to construct sanitary sewer improvements in the Lallendorf Road Truck Sanitary Sewer District within the public right-of-way of Pickle Road, subject to certain conditions and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Council.
Mr. President,
Yes, Ms. Powell.
I move for passage of ordinance number 39 of 2021 and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Powell.
Second.
Second by Mr. Reeves. Ms. Evans, would you please take a roll call of council on passage of ordinance number 39 of 2021 as an emergency measure?
Mrs. Powell,
Yes.
Mr. Reeves,
Yes.
Mr. Davish,
Yes.
Mr. Horniak,
Yes.
Mr. Seaman,
Yes.
Mr. Wallenzeck,
Yes.
Mr. Sale,
Yes.
Thank you, council. Please note that ordinance 39 of 2021 did pass by a vote of 7 yeas, 0 nays. Move to item number 40. Item number 40 is being presented by Mayor Michael J. Safarian and Recreation and Parks Commissioner, Mr. Tim Borden. Mayor, Mr. Borden.
Well, I'll start. I think that Mr. Roman might go next, and then Mr. Borton. That we're kind of putting together a formal arrangement for how we deal with the people who have the porta-johns, or we had trades in the past for use of porta-johns versus them dumping their waste at our plant. And we're more formalizing an arrangement. Mr. Roman could tell you the difference from what we had to what this is. And then Mr. Borton could tell you what our demands are.
Excellent. Mr. Roman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mayor. And I know Tim put together the bid specs, and I know for the rec, we've done this barter exchange for some time. Really, it's just getting porta potty services at various locations throughout the rec complex and other areas in exchange to get what's called dump tickets through the wastewater plant. And they have a certain value for, let's say, 1,000 gallons. And I know that when they bid this, they do offer that as a way of paying for services. And then they evaluate, the rec evaluates the bids and picks a vendor. And I think ACE has had this contract in past years. So that's it. But we've done it. I know in years past, sometimes the value of it was not at the purchase limit that we have at 25,000. And I think there may have not been an ordinance in the past years up to this point. Now that it's over that 25,000, they need an ordinance to do it, which is fine. But we've done this barter for a good number of years, just so you know. So that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Roman.
Mr.
Borden.
President, I want to add one other thing. This is arrangement that we think is great for us, and so does the vendor. They think it's great for them too. So it's one of those unique situations where everybody's really happy with it.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Borden.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, I went out and I got 3 proposals. You'll notice if you do the calculation that ACE's dollar total is higher than the co-man total. But when they're willing to take the exchange of tickets, that's really a better deal for the city because we're really just exchanging services. We're not sending $13,000 in cash to co-man for the use of portable restaurants. And with the lowest best bid criteria, because ACE is willing to do all dump tickets, that really does work out better for the city than just that exchange of services instead of the exchange of money. And we have used ACE for almost like the last 6 or 7 years. And like Mr. Roman indicated, the value has gone up as our usage has gone up throughout the complex and throughout other events at the city, like the Boom Fest and the Farmers Market. We put it all into one bid. So we're not constantly looking for porta pot services here. So that's why ACE in our mind is the best bid criteria for the city.
Thank you, Mr. Borden. Council, is there any questions for the administration on item number 40? Hearing no questions, I'll sign item number 40 with ordinance number 40 of 2021 and ask Ms. Evans to read it into the record. Ms. Evans.
Authorizing the mayor, finance director, and commissioner of recreation and parks to enter into an agreement with Ace Diversified Services LLC, doing business as Ace Sanitation, 1750 Trade Road, Holland, Ohio, for portable restroom facilities for the 2021 season in exchange for waste tickets to be used at the city's wastewater treatment plant in the amount of $29,250 and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Council.
Mr. President,
Mr. Reeves.
I move for passage of ordinance of number 40 of 2021 as an emergency measure.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves.
Second.
Second by Mr. Horniak. Ms. Evans, would you please take a roll call of council on passage of ordinance number 40 of 2020 as an emergency measure?
Mr. Reeves,
Yes.
Mr. Horniak,
Yes.
Mr. Davish,
Yes.
Mrs. Polliff,
yes,
Mr. Seaman,
Yes.
Mr. Wallensack,
Yes.
Mr. Zale,
Yes.
Thank you, council. Please note that ordinance 40 of 2020 did pass by over 7 yeas, 0 nays. We do have a liquor permit before us this evening. We have a liquor permit transfer from Reedy Oil LLC, doing business as S&G 33, being transferred to S&G Stores LLC, doing business as S&G 33. Council, is there any questions, comments on the liquor permit?
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Zale.
based on the information that I've received, I believe we should instruct our clerk to mark the box that we do not request a hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Zale. Is there a second?
second,
Second.
Second by Ms. Polloff. Council, any objections? Hearing no objections, we will instruct the clerk to check the box that we do not seek a hearing on this. That ends the items for consideration and passage this evening, and we will move to the mayor's report. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. President. And council, I got some appointments to make. And with your acceptance, if you see this written recreational seasonal appointment list, I'm going to ask if you'd be all right if I just tell you that there's various employees going to be mentioned, and they go from the classifications 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, and 8. And I was going to use this list as the record, and then just mention their names and not what each of them do. And I think that would suffice if you're okay with that. If you want, I can read all the stuff on there.
I don't think the council will object to that, Mayor.
All right. All right. So then I'm going to ask your concurrence for the appointment of these individuals. And like I said, at the step and pay rate that are listed on this list. And that will be Carrie LeBoon, Emily Hook, Kaylee Reynolds, Emily Ashley, Samantha Ashley, Rebecca Casey, Sophia Crawford, Sarah Frick, Madison. Somebody help me with that. Yeah, that's good. Jamie Judy, Vincent Kendranowski, Chloe Cohn, Alicia McLeod or
McCall,
McCall.
Alicia.
McCullough,
Or Alicia, all right. Michaela, it's another one.
Munchowitz?
Mukowitz?
Mahavich.
Mahavich. That's
Machowicz.
what I was gonna say. May Shabilsky, Madeline Schaefer, McKenna Shanks, Dominic Schwartz, Joe Kiss III, Kelly Madrid, Sean O'Connor, Jim Phillips, Aiden Root, Jim Shear, Jordan Shanks, Emily Siverson, Morgan St. Julian. Let's see here. Ryan Bilski, Chase Tilton, Brock Valinsky, Kevin Velo, Kevin,
Hohenberger.
good. I'll take that. And Jacob Novak, Robert I'm looking.
Sardos.
Cedos. I think it's Cedos.
Sardos.
All right, I'll take, that's good. Jonathan Quinlan, Luke Tilton, Anthony Derby, Eric Donofrio, Jonathan Flanagan, Trevor Jersky, Luke Kolinsky, Elliot Lance, Jacob Lighty,
Lighty,
all right, Dominic Marquette, Lucas
Easel.
all right. Dorian Myers II, Nicholas Rodriguez, Eric Rowe, Cole Schreiber, Andrew St. Julian. And once again, I'd ask council's concurrence of each of those individuals at the class and pay range that are listed on this sheet. And let's see if Tim put an effective date. An effective date of tomorrow, March 9th through April 1st, 2022.
thank you, Mayor. Council,
Mr. President,
Mr. Reeves,
I move to concur with the mayor's appointments for the seasonal recreational appointments from March 9th of 2021 through April 1st of 2022.
thank you, Mr. Reeves.
Second.
Second by Mr. Horniak. Council, any objections? Hearing no objections, Mayor, council concurs with the seasonal appointments to the Recreation Department.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, council. And next, this is appointment of special prosecutor. You remember last council meeting, this was a name that was not mentioned because the individual wanted to work out, make sure things work out with his other employment, and everything did. And so at this time, I'd ask council's concurrence in the appointment of Nathan Daniels of 6410 Old Stone Trail, Curtis, Ohio, to the appointment of what are we going to call this? Special prosecutor at $68 an hour, and the effective date would be tomorrow, also March 9th of 2021.
Thank you, Mayor. Council,
Mr. President,
Mr. Zale.
I move to concur with the mayor on that appointment.
Thank you, Mr. Zale.
Second,
Second by Ms. Pollock. Council, any objections? Hearing no objections, Mayor, council concurs with the appointment of Nathan Daniels as special prosecutor.
And I thank you, council, for that concurrence. And now for an appointment at the wastewater treatment plant. And I know that the group that interviewed these 8 candidates were pretty busy last couple weeks doing those interviews. And the outcome was prepared to appoint Mr. Robert McNiven of 6165 Corduroy Road to the wastewater treatment plant in step 1, pay range $28.41 an hour, which is the annual rate of $59,092.80. And that appointment will be active as of March 15th, 2021. And I'd ask council's concurrence in the appointment, once again, of Mr. Robert McNiven.
Thank you, Mayor. Council.
Mr. President,
Yes, Ms. Polliff.
I move to concur with the mayor's appointment of Mr. Robert McNiven to the wastewater treatment operator position.
Thank you, Ms. Polliff.
Second.
Second by Mr. Reeves. Council, any objections? Hearing no objections, Mayor, council concurs with the appointment of Mr. Robert McNiven to the wastewater treatment plant operator.
I thank you very much, and I'm sure he does too. And with that, I would conclude my report.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Beasley?
Mr. President, members, just a couple of things. Obviously, you noticed things starting to come back to life post-COVID. One of the first things that we're excited about is rec. We were one of the few shops that kept going with rec all of last year. We had a much reduced program, but we're really hoping to come back significantly this year. That's why we're going to be expecting to move forward to have more seasonals out there, et cetera. So we're still kind of going light on the expenditure side as some of our revenues are still challenged, but we believe that we have we think it's really good for the community to ratchet up rec. We have a lot of demand for what we're doing out there. I know Tim's on and he talks to Terry that we've really kind of got some real demand out there. We're excited about interest so far as we emerge from COVID. The other thing that I think it's worth noting is that we have been actively engaged with the U.S. Conference of Mayors and other groups to work on this federal legislation. And we're expecting that Oregon will get some dollars, as will other local governments that will emerge in the coming weeks, really help us make sure we can maintain our service level. Really, it'll be spread out. That revenue over 21 and 22 is the likely thing. So as we look at that, I think that coming out of COVID last year, we did not eat into any cash at all. We cut back services, or at least we cut back workforce. And we're keeping a little lighter workforce this year as well. We'll be ratcheting up that in a few areas. But our goal was to get to the end of 22 without having to hit any of our cash reserve net between the two of them. So that's the goal. We might tap it a little bit this year and less next year. As the economy emerges, we think we're going to be okay. So we'll get to 2023 with our strong reserve intact. And let's see if see how ready we are to emerge going forward. We'll see how this legislation wraps up in the coming weeks, but we're feeling pretty good about its shape right now for places like us. So we'll see where it goes. We did, as everyone knows, just because of the nature of our largest industries, we took a bigger hit than most communities like us over this last year. So it brings on some changes for us. The other one on the something that is important that's coming up next meeting is our full-time firefighters bargaining unit voted to approve its contract with the city. Really kind of the final step in the reshaping of our department and its services and working together with both our bargaining units to shift from something that's been important to the members, shift from a primarily tone out and response department to a staffed blend of full-time and part-time personnel that will really, we think, make the community safer. That combined with the new station is really part of that long-time evolution we've all been working on for a while. And we're wrapping that up. We'll be bringing that, some new positions we'll be creating and bringing that contract into the council next meeting. We're kind of working through and cleaning up the language on it and making sure that the agreement's ready to go. So that's kind of a big step. We talked a little bit about town center, and we'll be continuing to work on that and hear about it as we go, and we'll see where we are. So it's just kind of a lot going on right now. It's kind of exciting. You've got a lot of balls in the air. We'll see if we don't drop too many of them as we go forward, though. But let's keep working on it together. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Beasley. Ms. Purpura.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Purpura. Mr. Owen.
No report, Mr. President, but I did want to welcome Mr. Niven to the city. I know he was waiting patiently through this meeting, and I don't know if he's still online or not. For me to have a Zoom meeting and have someone appointed and not be there to welcome in person, it's kind of hard. So But I wanted to welcome him. That's all. So I don't know if he's logged on still or
No,
not.
he's still
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
He's a glutton.
Thank you, everyone.
Glutton
Nice
for
seeing
fun.
everyone. Paul, nice seeing you again.
Yep. Nice seeing you. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And from council, welcome, Robert. We look forward to working with you.
Thanks. Me too.
That's
And,
it.
Thanks, Robert.
Mr. Reeves, do you have anything?
I don't have anything from my standing committee, but it sure looks like Culvers is doing a heck of a job right now. I mean, Saturday, I just tried to drive past her to see what it's like. Saturday, I was driving past at 10 minutes after 10 in the morning, and they were already backed out in the street, and they didn't open till 10:30. So, yeah, I bet right now those poor kids and young people that are working there didn't think it was going to be this bad or this busy, but I bet you their day goes quick. But very glad to have them in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves. Mr. Zale?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just want to reiterate again, with the fire station development, I think you're all going to be very happy with how that turns out. I'm excited when we get the opportunity to show you some of the renderings of what it's going to look like and what the floor space looks like inside. We've done a lot of work on this. I think it is going to be a showpiece for Oregon. I think it's going to be a building you're going to be proud to drive by. I really do. Nothing else, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Zale. Mr. Seaman?
Oh, thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, in terms of Culvers, I thought that was great that the city put those two signs up, one for through traffic and one to watch for stop cars. That was an excellent move. A lot of people are saying, you've got to do something about it. You got to do something. And I think that does help a lot, the two signs that are put up. So I haven't been there yet. I'm not in any rush, but I'm sure it's a lot of people are enjoying it. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Seaman.
Mr. President.
Mayor.
I was just going to say, I spoke to the owner a couple days ago, and he informed me they've been averaging like 970 transactions a day there, which is
Wow.
is about, for the hours they're open, is like 1.42. I did a little math, like 1.42 per minute. That's a pretty good number for every hour they're there.
That's very nice. Very nice. We're at Mr. Davish. Mr. Davish.
Report.
Thank you, Mr. Davish. Ms. Poliff?
Thank you, Mr. President. Nothing from my standing committee other than welcome, Robert. Congratulations, and I'm sure you'll do really well. Excited for you. Secondly, with all the talk of the fire station being built, working together with contracts, and if Culvers is a litmus test of what's to come for Oregon, I'm pretty excited, and I really want to thank the administration for everything that they've done to keep us afloat during this whole COVID pandemic and keeping things above water, keeping people hired, keeping people working. I'm really excited for what's to come in Oregon, and I want to thank all of you. I'm really excited for what's to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Poliff.
Mr. President,
Mr.
I have another note. Just for the record, I'm pretty excited that I get my vaccination first shot Thursday. So I'm not that excited that I'm old enough to get it legally, legitimately, but just excited to get it. But I'll go on record to say Mr. Beasley got his before I did, which
I'm old.
which means something. He's old.
They told me I didn't look old enough, so I couldn't get one yet.
I don't think anybody told you that.
Yeah, they said, wait, you're gonna be kid. You can't be that old to get a shot. You gotta wait.
They're just trying to be nice to them. They were just.
You gotta wait until the mayor and the administrator get theirs. That's what they told me.
Mr. Horniak.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Horniak. I have no report from my standing committee, but I do have a couple of public hearings that we do need to set today. I have a couple of agricultural districts. We need to set public hearings for Monday, March 22nd. The first one will be for a renewal application for an agricultural district for Beth Ackerman for 13.78 acres located at 6950 Brown Road. The second public hearing will be for a renewal application for an agriculture district for Paul and Tricia Solstice for 3.907 acres located at 5139 Star Avenue and 5 acres located at 5115 Star Avenue. And a third public hearing is for Mr. Myers, Bill Myers. He's got multiple properties, 15 acres located at 5365 Cedar Point, 15 acres located at 5345 Cedar Point, 14.91 acres at 5443 Cedar Point, 14.91 acres at 5415 Cedar Point, 15 acres located at 5412 Cedar Point, 5 acres located at 5420 Cedar Point, 20 acres located at 5306 Cedar Point, 18.5 acres located at 5360 Cedar Point, 10 acres located at 5551 Corduroy Road, 31 acres located at 5425 Corduroy Road, 16.649 acres located at 5334 Corduroy Road, 43.791 acres located at 0 Wynn Road, 16.403 acres located at 0 North Wynn Road, 81.141 acres located at 1501 South Wheeling Street, 10 acres located at 1052 North Norton Road, 10 acres located at 6752 Cedar Point Road, 60 acres located at 6310 Cedar Point Road, 23.029 acres located at 0 North Stadium Road, 20 acres located at 866 North Stadium Road, 12 acres located at 6118 Cedar Point Road, 5 acres located at 820 North Stadium Road, 38 acres located at 6439 Corduroy Road, 10 acres located at 6261 Corduroy Road, 15.01 acres located at 6015 Corduroy Road, 18.6553 acres located at 0 Corduroy Road. So 3 public hearings for Monday, March 22nd, 2021 will be held. And we do also have another.
Hello.
Yeah, Mr. Seaman, do you need me for something?
No,
I think he needs a doctor.
somebody called me, man. Melissa called me.
Oh, yeah, because you sound like you're having trouble breathing.
That was Melissa.
Oh,
Yes,
I don't think
I was
so. I
calling
don't
you.
think so.
No, it was me calling him.
Yeah, to tell him.
Yikes, moving on.
Okay. So we have 3 public hearings set. We will have, more than likely, we'll have next regular council meeting via Zoom again. And then we will plan on the first regular meeting in April, going back into chambers. We should have the audio visual equipment set up and the new speaker system so that we can stream live to YouTube from our council meetings. We will try to accommodate anybody that needs to get on the record for our public hearing. We do have a public hearing for a zoning change, property zoning change for that meeting also. So with that, if nobody has any other questions or comments, I'll seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Seaman.
Second.
Second by Mr. Reeves. Council, any objections? Hearing no objections, the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Thanks, all.
Yep.
Wait, are we still on record here?